and sweet. Nice little stream for you to come in, ask some questions, get some things answered, whatever it may be. Go ahead, hop in the chat. We can get that popping. Make sure you are subscribed, the post notifications turned on. That way you do get notified anytime I do go live or post any educational content. Got a lot of that coming soon, so make sure you tapped in. But we'll go ahead and get it started. We start off with XAU USD from the monthly time frame, and on the monthly, spoke about it a lot. Previous structure resistance, now turn support, broken down below. Came back, retested that area as previous structure support, now turned resistance, rejected that area to the downside, exactly as market structure is supposed to do. Now from there, we broke to the downside and almost retested what would be previous structure resistance once again. Now tapped into, coming from the upside, would be acting as support. We didn't really get the touch that we would like to see in there. But since then, we've also had an explosion to the upside, looking to continue this trend of just on the monthly higher highs and higher lows, higher highs and higher lows. We actually came back into the area that was considered the higher low right here, and we're starting to explode to the upside, where we could see more continuation of the bulls on this pair. Now, if we do drop down to the weekly time frame, you can see we've had a big explosion to the upside, creating this sort of pattern here. So a retracement is in order for a continuation to happen. And if we do drop down to the daily time frame, you can see exactly what we spoke about in the last stream, was that after this impulse completed itself, a retracement is in order back down to where would be the most probable area as previous structure resistance over on here, acting as support for a continuation to the upside, just for more monthly retracements or monthly explosions. Now that we're looking at it on the monthly, we would like to see this go ahead and continue to come and make a higher high. So just simply put, market structure, little complex correction, come retest, made that M and retest the neckline, 90 to 80% completion rate on that pattern for a continuation to the upside. Could be possible. So back down on the daily, after a retracement and after the retracement ends, if it shows signs of continuation to the upside, I will be looking for that move going forward. Now, if we drop down to XAG USD, simply put, we've had previous structure resistance now acting as support. We are starting to see the explosion to the upside on the monthly. And if we do drop down to the weekly time frame, you can see some of the same things. We've had move to the downside and explosion up on the weekly. If we do get the retracement, more than likely it will come in at the neckline, which is a pattern that completes 80 to 90% of the time. And from there, we could see possible trend continuation to the upside. Now, if we do look at the daily, last time we spoke about this pair, we did have this area right in here, just from a daily time standpoint, that you do not want to see the market break below and close below, just because it is previous structure resistance that should act as support right in this area. But we know from the higher time frames, a deeper retracement could be possible, but it just all depends on how the market closes on the days like today going forward for the rest of the week. If it shows signs of continuation to the upside from here on the daily time frame, I will be looking for that. But it also could possibly come back for a deeper retracement and provide some sort of situation where we could see the daily move to the upside happen a little later. So we still need to see these daily candles close. Keep that in mind. XBT USD, another commodity, will be showing some of the same things. We've had several levels of structure. More importantly, we've had this candle here. Then as well, we've had this candle here, which is a structure candle, where you do not want to see the market either disrespect these levels coming from what would be underneath. You don't want to see it break above, because it should be previous structure resistance acting as resistance once again. But since we've had those candles form and the most recent candles on the monthly, we've had an explosion to the upside, breaking above both of those levels. So we could see the possible continuation from a monthly time frame go on to create moves to the upside. Now, if we drop down to the weekly time frame, once again, these are commodities. They will be showing some of the same things. We've had a nice and easy just pattern here, where you want to see the market come back and complete at the neckline before we get the continuation to the upside, which is essentially the most common pattern in the market. Now, if we look at the daily time frame, last time we spoke about this pair, We did have previous structure resistance right in this area, which the market is sitting at. That should act as support. So if the market starts to show signs of continuation from this area, I will be looking for that. But going off the higher time frames down to the daily, this multi-time frame analysis, we could be due for a deeper correction, and then from there we see the continuation to the upside. So either way, we still need to see these daily candles close and show some sort of sign or direction in which way the market is wants to head. But more importantly, if the market closed like this and then possibly gives me some sort of continuation to the upside going into tomorrow, I will be looking for that continuation to the upside play. Now, if we look at US oil, on US oil, last time we spoke about it, it's just about in the same position. So we've had previous structure resistance, now acting as support over in here, just simply put from the monthly time frame. Even though we've had several levels of structure that attempted to be broken but did not actually get broken, there is still possible moves to the upside coming from this on the monthly time frame. Now, if we drop to the weekly to get a little more detail, spoke about it several times before in previous streams. We've had a level of support right in this area, broken to the downside, immediately come back into the area. That sets us up for an inverted head and shoulders, where you do not want to see the right shoulder break below and close below the left shoulder down in here. We did not get that. We got the initiation of what would be the next impulse to the upside, but once we reach these highs right in here, reach these levels, we started to get rejected. Now we are sitting at previous structure support that should act as support once again. But since we are trending sideways, that obviously is not ideal trading conditions. Now dropping down to the daily time frame, we did have this impulse here where we want to see the retracement and the continuation to the downside after that. But what we did is get rejected from the bottom down here amongst some of these lows, which is support on the daily time frame. And from there, we had a little bit of rejection, and we're just kind of consolidating sideways. So for me, the best probabilities would be either a breakout to the downside for a continuation, or if the market does start to creep up, start to break some of these levels, and then look for the continuation to the upside. Now I'm dropping down to the Forex pairs, starting off with Euro USD. On Monday, we spoke about this pair. It was sitting right at previous structure support that should act as resistance right in this area, but since then the monthly has creeped into this area, started to get rejected a little bit, but it's still looking very bullish just from this candle. So we are still bearish because we are below some structure support, or still retesting this structure support. So it's not a go ahead and start buying now and look for the market to go ahead and create a move to the upside type of situation. But we are at previous structure support that should act as resistance. If we drop down to the weekly to get a little more detail, what we can see is that we are sitting right in this area. So once again, support and resistance is not a definite point on the chart or a exact line. It is an area. So right around this area here, we are starting to see some rejections from the market tapping into this zone, where there could be possible retracements coming from here. Now, if we look at the daily time frame, you can see we wanted a deeper correction from just this area, maybe back down into some of these levels, or possibly just a deeper correction to come retest previous structure here. Could be possible here. We did not get that, and then we had the market start to create an impulse to the upside as it is currently now. It does not look very aggressive. It doesn't look very strong from these candles, but all we can do is wait, because market structure says that once the market is above these levels, we must wait for it to close, break and close. So if the market starts to break and create structure to the downside, once again, I will be looking to short this pair to the downside. But if it continues to break to the upside, breaking some of these levels, then a retracement back into previous structure resistance, now turn support, could be possible. GBP USD, some of the same things, very extended to the downside, coming to retest some structure just from a monthly standpoint. So this is exactly how the market works. We break the structure, come back, retest it on a monthly time frame candle. Yes, it will take some time to develop, 31 days for that candle to actually close, which is what we use over here at the FX Savant University. If you do want to go ahead and join or learn some of the strategies that I use on a daily basis to navigate the market and look for high probable setups, go ahead and check the link in the description. But jumping back to GBP USD on the monthly time frame, we are starting to tap into some of these areas. Now on the weekly, you can see that we have not broken and closed above these levels, but we have broken above them. So we still have 2 days and about 2 hours before this weekly candle closes. If it does want to give us some retracement, possible areas that would make sense would be right around in this area, previous structure resistance, now turn support for a continuation to the upside if the market wants to go ahead and do that. But if the market does start to show signs of sell-offs, then a break below some of these levels, and that is from a weekly time frame, could lead us to look for possible shorts back down to go ahead and continue the market trend from the higher time frame, so from the monthly. And if we do drop down to the daily time frame, what we can identify here is that we are starting to break some structure to the upside. Now we do have the candle that we want to see the next one fill in the wick, which is this one here. So we could possibly see by the end of the week the market still continue to make moves to the upside, but who knows? We still have about an hour and 42 minutes before this candle closes the way that it is right now, and we could start to see some sort of sell-off. If we do break down below some of these levels, it could set us up for a nice and easy left shoulder, head, right shoulder for a continuation back down to the downside for market trend on a monthly time frame perspective. So the market is still bearish from a monthly time frame, so sales are still active. Now sliding down to AUD USD, these pairs are correlated. They have the USD in them, so they will either be showing a positive or a negative correlation. And AUD USD on the monthly is retesting previous structure support, now turned resistance, or should act as resistance. And if we look at the weekly time frame, you can see that we've had a nice and easy run to the downside, and then as well we've had a nice and easy run back up to some of these levels as bullish pressure stepped in. So since we are at previous structure support that should act as resistance, we can expect that there will be some sort of retracement out of this area. Now on the daily time frame of AUD USD, where we last spoke about it, we want to see the retracement come back down. We did not get that. We started to see a little movement to the upside, where this daily candle is starting to close or form bearish. We still have about an hour and 40 minutes. Like I said, if this bearishness continues, we could possibly see continuations back down to go ahead and retest these areas that we identified previously. So if the market does break down below, close below, come back for some sort of retest, we would have nice and easy left shoulder, head, and a right shoulder right in there to further aid our analysis and see the continuation to the downside to at least come retest some of these previous structure levels broken. Now we can drop down to USD CAD. From USD CAD on the monthly time frame, what can we identify is that this market is extremely bullish, so we are breaking out to the upside, but we can't go in one direction forever. So we need some sort of exhaustion, retracement, correction in this area in order to see the continuation to the upside. But as it is now, we are in a retracement phase. Dropping down to the weekly, you can see that we've identified this level right in here, previous structure resistance that we want to see acting as support that could obviously propel us to the upside for a higher high to be created. But most importantly, we just want to see this M pattern complete itself at the neckline, which is an 80 to 90% completion rate pattern that we do take advantage of at the FX Savant University. So on the weekly, we are starting to make moves to the downside to come retest these areas. Right now, a little bullish, but that could change over the next 2 days. I actually want to see it come in and tap these levels before we start to make the move to the upside. But from a daily time frame perspective, we are still bearish, so moves to the upside is not ideal. It's not high probability, as we would need to see some breaks above these levels and retest for the continuation to the upside to actually give us the proper probabilities and confidence to see this market go ahead and complete itself up, creating a new high. But simply from the daily time frame standpoint, we still need to see these levels right in here broken to the upside before we start to look for any buys. And then as we are right now, we did create some sort of double bottom, so it is not ideal to go ahead and look for continuations to the downside for extensive times, so long periods of time, since we are so bullish on the monthly. But just simply from the daily time frame standpoint, USD CAD, I want to see the market break above some of these levels before I start to get active and interested in this pair. On the monthly time frame of NZD USD, same things. A lot of these pairs are going to be correlated. Well, all these pairs will be correlated. either positively or negatively. But we do have previous structure support on the monthly time frame that we are starting to tap into on the monthly time frame again, that should act as resistance. Now if we drop down to the weekly time frame, you can see that we've had a very aggressive run up as well as a very aggressive sell off. So that does give us a little hope, as the market's still playing in some logical standpoint, some logical type of movement, where we could possibly see, because this weekly candle isn't as strong as the previous weekly candles, we could see this be the turn and then continuation to the downside possibly present itself from there. But as we look at the daily time frame, you can see there is a level of structure that we are above. Last time spoken about this pair, we wanted to see the retracement back down to some obvious levels of previous structure resistance that should act as support. We did not get that, and we got a little bump, a little break above. Bulls stepped in just a bit to close the market above this level. So technically we do have some structure right in this area that if broken to the downside, then we could possibly look for continuations to the downside for probable plays to certain areas that make sense. So right around in this area, we could see, if the market does close and break below some of these structure levels, we could see a possible move down to retest just the highest probable area the market will go to. So we would still need to see some levels of structure broken to the upside for a continuation to the upside, but just simply from the monthly time frame standpoint, since we are so bearish and we are coming into previous structure support now turned resistance, we could expect there to be some sort of exhaustion on this pair. I would still need to see the break and close below some of these levels before I get involved. Now USD CHF from the monthly time frame, I've refrained from talking about this and the TMCP that formed on the monthly, so it gave us a plethora of time to go ahead and identify and actually watch the market make. But since recently, this month recently, simply put, on this market, we've had a level in the market that failed to break above, indicated by all these wicks, finally broke above it. Now we completely and immediately came back into the zone for movements to the downside, and from there what you can expect is that the market come retest some obvious levels of structure, which would be this level right in here. Then we would have a left shoulder, a head, and then a right shoulder to help further aid the analysis to see the continuation to the downside. And that's just simply from a monthly time frame perspective, looking at what I see. Now if we look at the weekly time frame, you can see a very aggressive move, a lot of momentum in this push to the downside, and we did come into previous structure support that should act as support once again, which is currently happening. You can see that we are starting to get rejected from this level, even from a weekly time frame standpoint. Not necessarily saying that we're going to close bullish, but we did reject some of these levels down in here, where if we do get a deeper retracement, some sort of correction on a weekly time frame, that could put us in a good opportunity to see the market play out from a weekly time frame perspective, especially once we're getting in on these lower time frames. Now on the daily, it is setting up quite nicely for a nice and easy retracement, maybe into some of these levels for the continuation to the downside. We've had a extremely bearish, extremely momentous sell-off where we're starting to get some weak retracement candles, which is ideal, and then from there we could see possible continuations to the downside. So that is somewhat of what I'm looking for on this pair, just because we are so bearish on this. Just from a daily time frame perspective, I would like to see the market continue to the downside, but if we do start to get some levels of the market created and broken to the upside, turning this back bullish and breaking above some of these levels, we could possibly see the market go ahead and make a higher high out of these levels. Now we can slide down to USD JPY from the monthly time frame, and on the monthly we spoke about this a lot, is that this pair is extremely bullish. We've broken several levels of structure, not only just broken and closed above, but we've moved away from those levels by a lot of pips. So we could possibly see the continuation to the upside from a monthly time frame perspective, but as it is right now, we are currently in the retracement phase. Now if we drop down to the weekly, you can see there were some levels in the market on the weekly time frame. We had identified that once broken below, we could see possible continuations to the downside to retest some of these areas, which is exactly what we've gotten. And then on the weekly, since we came into previous structure resistance, it should act as support. We're starting to notice that now with this weekly candle looking and forming bullish. We still have 2 days for the weekly candle to close, So that could change, but as it is right now, it looks like we are starting the retracement. Now, if we slide down to the daily time frame, you can see that this was the level or the area that we spoke about. Consolidation, movement sideways, movement to the downside could provide a possible continuation to the downside. There was no entry for me, but just the direction. We were correct on the direction, just no entry. But here previously or most recent on the daily time frame, we are coming into this level that we've identified as previous structure resistance that we want to see act as support. That could possibly move the market back up to some of these levels to retest. And then from there, who knows if the market will continue to the upside, but this would be some sort of head, left shoulder, and then we would have this area right in here as the right shoulder that could help further aid the analysis for continuation to the downside if the market wants to keep going. But as we are on the daily, we found what seems to be like a level of support that is keeping the market above it. If we do start to get some sort of deeper retracements, then the move to the upside for possibly some day trades could be probable to come in to retest some just logical areas in the market. Could be possible, but as it is right now from a swing trading perspective, there is nothing really interesting on this pair. That basically sums up the majors in the Forex market. Now, if we slide down to BTC USD on the monthly time frame, what can we identify? There's been a lot of commotion going lately, but just simply put, we've had previous structure resistance that should act as support. We have all this area. Once again, support and resistance is not an exact line. It's not an exact number on the chart. It is an area, and on the monthly, we are starting to see the market tap into some of these areas. So even all the way down here, still acting as previous structure resistance that could act as support, should obviously act as support. Now, dropping down to the weekly time frame, we're starting to get a little more in detail. From the monthly time frame, we are expecting the market to bounce from this area, even though we've got a few bounces. But simply put, on the weekly, we're extremely bearish. So we are below some levels of structure. And until then, we can't be looking for any buys. And that's from a weekly standpoint until we see some of these levels of structure broken. That's just not high probability. So we've had this extreme move to the downside on the weekly. The most logical thing for us to do is look for continuations to the downside to possibly come retest some of these areas down in here. That is previous structure, resistance that could act as support. So the market still could possibly make moves to the downside, and then the hopes of the buys could still be in play if we reach some of these levels down in here, and then we start to see the market change and make moves to the upside. Now, if we drop down to the daily time frame to get really in detail, we spoke about this pair. We want to see the continuation to the downside after this explosion or sell-off, massive bleed. We've had this move to the downside. We could see some sort of complex correction, the momentum changeover, and then we see the continuation to the downside for just a lower low on the daily time frame could happen. But simply put, as we are now, we're kind of trapped in between the support on the daily time frame as well as this area of resistance right in here, where a breakout to either side could prompt the market to continue that trend. So if it does break out to the upside, we could see possible moves to the upside and continuations just to go ahead and retest some of these levels. Not necessarily go ahead and retest all-time highs, but we could see some retest of some resistance that was previous support. And then vice versa, we are expecting the market to go ahead and break these lows for continuation to the downside, just because we are extremely bearish, not only from a daily time frame standpoint, but a weekly and a monthly as well. So those are my plays possible going in for the rest of the week up until Friday. But that's pretty much it, man. That'll sum it up. This was a quick one. Looking for some chats. We got any chats? Nothing too crazy going on right now. I'll let y'all get on with your day. But that's really much it, man. Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays in between 3 p.m. and 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have this little live stream. If you're watching this a little late, they will be posted. So don't worry. You don't have to tune in to get the information. You can simply watch and then possibly join the next one. So Make sure you are subscribed with the post notifications turned on. That way you get updated when I do go live, so you can go ahead and get in the live stream. If you have any questions, you can get those answered as well. If you have any pairs you want me to look at other than the majors and Bitcoin and a few commodities that we did look at, you can let me know as well. I'll go over those. Be more than happy to give you some sort of direction in terms of what you're looking at on the market. But once again, I don't see too much, so that's pretty much gonna be it. Yeah. All right. I hope everyone is having a profitable day on and off the charts. And until next time,